Jennifer.
So should we multitask during your speech?
Who in this room feels like after this meeting, they'll be able to go back to their desk and perform at their highest level until the end of the day? What about with some coffee? Well, we all know that we have a limited number of hours in our days, but I'm here to talk about how both the quantity and the quality of energy available to us is not limited. Like Karen mentioned in my introduction, I read this book called The Power of Full Engagement for this group that I'm in, called the Purpose Driven Collective. And basically this group is together so that we can hold each other accountable to live our lives to the fullest. But fellow Toastmasters and our guests today I'm here to share on, basically my speech today is to show you that performance, health, and happiness are grounded in the skillful management of our energy. And I urge you to take a look at the sheet you have in front of you, bring it home this weekend, and devote some time to it. This will be your roadmap to achieving higher performance. Please note that at the end of my timed speech, I will have some time available for question and answer. Does this sound familiar? We live in digital times. Our rhythms are rushed, rapid fire, and relentless. Our days carved up into bits and bytes. We celebrate breadth rather than depth, quick reaction more than considered reflection. We race through our lives without pausing to consider who we really want to be or where we really want to go. We're wired up, but we're melting down. So that's the very first paragraph of this book. It sounds like my life at times, and I'm sure many in this room. Jim Loehr and Tony Schwartz, they're the authors. They start off by talking about their work with athletes and how they were trying to figure out how they can get athletes to perform at their highest consistently while increasing competition coming their way. So they brought these athletes through their program and realized that they need to have a balance of work and recovery and managing their energy to the prime so that they can perform at their highest level. They took this program into the business world and realized it was just as effective, if not more, with the business world. So it's about being fully engaged. And an example is, it's the difference between signing up for Toastmasters and showing up every once in a while, to signing up for Toastmasters, making a commitment, setting goals to complete your competent communicator guide or your advanced leader guide. That is full engagement. So living a life of purpose, it's energy, it's balance, and it's engagement. Full engagement in our everyday lives requires drawing on 4 separate but related sources of energy. You got your physical, your emotional, your mental, and your spiritual. And all 4 of these dynamics are critical, and none is sufficient by itself. They all influence each other. I'm going to go into each of these in detail, starting with the physical energy, which is the fundamental source of the fuel for life. Obviously, we can't live without breathing or eating. But I'm not talking about just breathing and eating, I'm talking about how you breathe. Have you ever been in that situation where you find yourself kind of panting, or you're in a stressful situation and you just feel like you can't even get a breath? That's what I'm talking about. Like when I'm in a yoga pose and I'm ready to cuss out my instructor, and she's calmly stating, breathe through the pose, breathe through the pose. This is what I'm talking about in how we breathe and how we use our energy. And then with eating, a case study in the book is about this guy named Roger, and he had a very high pressure job, and he started off his day without eating breakfast, running to work, then just getting through a bunch of emails and calls. Then he'd grab some pizza or hot dog or hamburger for lunch. Then he'd drink a bunch of coffee to get through the afternoon, go home and eat another big meal, and he was ready to pass out. He was not using his energy to the best. After he went through this program, they told him, why don't you start with breakfast, a nice healthy breakfast in the morning, then change your meals so that you're eating something every 3 hours, even if it's small. And you'll see in this graph that instead of these huge spikes in energy and drops, that he was, even though he still had fluctuation, he was performing at a much higher area of performance. So you got breathing, eating, sleeping. Most human beings that I know need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I know there's some rare people that can survive off of less. And then fitness. Education is very beneficial to how we use our physical energy. Now the next source of energy on the pyramid is emotional energy. And this is where, in order to perform our best, we must access pleasant and positive emotions. So it's kind of like the glass is half full type of attitude. And when you have emotional storms that come your way, you can either get overwhelmed by them, or you can see them as an opportunity for growth. And as a recovering control freak, well, I'm still a control freak, but I'm working on it. Something I learned in Leadership Academy that is relevant to this is that you can't always choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you react to the situation. So that's how I see this being emotionally connected. And mentally focused. This is the third one on the pyramid, the ability to concentrate at the task at hand. The mental energy that best serves for full engagement is realistic optimism, which is why I chose this quote. It's seeing the world as it is, but it's always working positively towards some desired outcome or solution. Be the change you want to see in the world. And then the fourth one on the pyramid is spiritual energy. And this one is the most powerful source of motivation, perseverance, and direction in our lives. And the key muscle that fuels the spiritual energy is character, and the courage and the conviction to live by our values, which I'll go into a little bit in more detail in a couple slides. So you had the four sources of energy: the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual. And within all of these sources, you have energy oscillation, where you can't always be performing at this high level without some type of burnout or injury. There always needs to be some period of rest or recovery, and there has to be a good balance between the two. So that was something else that you have to think about when you're thinking of how can I use my energy to the most. So after learning about all this energy, now it's time to actually take action, and this is where in the book they got into developing a personal development plan. And what you see in front of you is kind of like a worksheet to get you there. So the first part is to identify your values. And why should we take time to do this? For me, knowing and living deeply with my values has helped me make difficult decisions in life. Being a mother and who is also working full-time, there's a lot of difficult decisions you need to make, and knowing my values has really helped me make these decisions. So some of the values I identified included balance, that's the key one, excellence, integrity, kindness, and health. The second part of the plan is developing a vision statement, and this is how you intend to invest your energy. And in order to provide inspiration, you'll want to make this overreaching and ambitious, but also keep it pretty specific and personal. And I have mine with me. If we have time at the Q&A session, I can read mine off. And the third one is creating positive rituals. And this is where you translate your values and your priorities into action through everyday behaviors. So rituals are kind of like goals. The more specific you are with deadlines, the greater increases that the greater chance that you'll actually go through and achieve your goals. Again, I'm taking Toastmasters, for example. Some positive rituals I have regarding Toastmasters are pretty simple. I have a meeting notice every Thursday from 12 to 1 on my calendar. What message does that send out to my colleagues? Don't make any meetings with me. This is my value time. I go to this every week. And I encourage you to do the same thing in your calendars. Another ritual I have a task reminder on Tuesdays to make sure I sign up for a role on Thursdays. It's something that's pretty simple. So yes, these are all very simple things to do, and does it make a huge difference in how I manage my energy? Yes, it really does. The book ends with one of the case studies, the same guy, Roger, who had all that difficulty with his eating, making this great quote. What amazes me most is that once my values became clear, I got the hang of building rituals. Most of the changes I made weren't that hard. My life acquired a certain rhythm. I can feel how much energy has rubbed off on the people in my life. My challenge now is just to feel the pulse and keep the beat. We've all been given one life. let's choose to live it to the fullest. Please take this sheet in front of your home this weekend and give it some of your time to help you figure out how you can manage your energy best for full engagement. Now that's the end of my timed speech, and I do have 3 to 5 minutes for question and answer period.